Good morning. It's not Wednesday crochet, it's Thursday crochet, I'm afraid, this week. A few family issues yesterday, so we had to deal with those. But otherwise, I'm here. I'm back. And we have a hat. Now, I did say it was going to be a cloche hat, but as you can see, my guy is not wearing a cloche hat. I decided to do a little Valentine's themed hat. So you can see all the way around. Got a little bit of V-stitch in here. They're all basic stitches. I think any beginner could do it, as long as you sort of take your time, don't rush. We have a little heart on here, and I've popped a little butterfly bead there. That is optional, you don't have to do that. I've chosen Gaia because I thought with a nice brown hair, the red showed up nicely. I tried it on Mirai, she's definitely not a red girl. So I popped it on Gaia here. So she's doing a little bit of modelling for us here. So I'm going to move her to one side. I'm going to take the hat off first. Let's make sure she's got hat hair now. All my girls unfortunately get hat hair. I think that's possibly one of the reasons I can't keep the hair as neat as some of you out there. Move my paper, put my paper and my pen over there. I am using my Patons double knit 100% cotton. Now, I know I've mentioned this before. I've just realised the computer sound is still on. Let me turn it off. I'm just reaching across. I can't find it. There we go. Then if any alerts or anything come up, you're not going to hear them beeping. So as I say, 100% cotton from Patons. I know somebody said they couldn't get that. I don't know whether it's just only in the UK. I really don't know. But as long as it's a cotton, a double knit cotton, you get approximately the same weight. The cotton's nice because it gives a bit of sort of definition. So I've got two colours. Obviously that's for the little heart. Again, any colour you wish. And I've chose red for the hat because I wanted to keep a bit of a Valentine's theme. I've just got a bit of needle and cotton to sew on the bead. These were the little beads. This is just a selection of the little butterfly beads I've got. They've got the hole that goes through. But again, you could pop a different bead in. You could pop a button on. You don't have to put anything on. It is completely up to you. My needles, my little stitch marker. I only need it a little bit. I am using 3.5mm hook and my scissors. Now, you'll be able to see something over here which might look a bit weird. It is my vise. I use this vise for very strange things. I used it for partly putting Gaia together because I couldn't get the joints together. I did pad it out though. But I'm going to be using it to hold the hat while I do the plaits because it gives you a much neater plait. If you're on your own, you've got nobody else to hold it for you or nowhere else to attach it, I found this is a great way of doing it. So I'm going to use that in a little while. Just found another bead there. Pop that over there. So let's get on with this little hat. Move everything out of the way and get my cotton going. Amigurumi-ish. It starts a bit like that, but we do have some trebles in there, so then it does change, obviously. So, slip knot onto our hook. Our 2 chain, as I said, this is the amigurumi bit. 2 chain. And then we're going to go into the first chain. We're going to do 6 double crochets. Again, you've seen me do this hundreds of times if you watch my others. Hundreds, I haven't done hundreds of videos. There we go. 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we have 6 double crochets there, and we now need to do 2 double crochets into each of those. So we should end up with our 12. Our first one is here. Watch for splitting with cotton. It shows up badly. You'll have to undo it if you split it because otherwise it'll look messy. So that's 1, 2. Remember, I'm UK terms, so it is a double crochet in the UK. That is 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we now have 12 stitches. This is the top of the hat we are starting from. We are now going to increase again. Now this is the last one for a little while. We will be doing some other double crochets, but this is our last double crochet round until we do a few bits of pattern. So we need 2 in each. It gives us 24 stitches. That's 1. Can be a little bit rough on your fingers as well, I've noticed with this. It's worth it. Oh, no, it doesn't want to go in. In you go. That's 3. Did I just do 1 stitch in that? I did. No, I didn't. No, you can see some, you know, if you've done 2, if you just sort of spread it out. So that was our 3, wasn't it? I will double count them at the end, I think, because of that, because I'm not sure where I am. That's 4. I think that's 5, but I don't actually know whether it's 6. I'm not going to overly worry. I'm not going to keep stopping and starting. you guys are doing it yourself, perhaps that would be worth doing. I'm going to go with that as 7. This is 8. It's easy enough to undo if you've done too many. 9, 10, 11 and 12. Right, I think I definitely need to count because I did lose count when I stopped. So easier to see as well with the cotton. It's lovely. You can see, can you see each little bump? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. How lucky is that? I've got 24. That is pure fluke. Right, so we have 24 stitches. We're now going to change to another stitch. It's going to be a treble. So I want to do my next stitch as a slip stitch because I want it a bit flatter before I start that treble. Now treble, 3 chain counts as our first treble. 1, 2 and 3. That is always the case whether you're going round or whether you're going across. So 3 chain, that bit counts as our treble. But then I'm going to do 1 more chain because you would require a chain between these stitches. Then I'm going to do a treble into the next stitch. Then I'm going to do 1 chain and I'm going to repeat that all the way around. I'm going to do a treble, a 1 chain into every single stitch, a treble, a 1 chain. So I'll move a little bit quicker on that now because you know what you're doing. Now it is increasing for us this. It's increasing us by doubling again, so you should, including the chain as a stitch, remember, it gives you 48 stitches. Make sure you do that chain, it does make a difference. You can sort of bodge it a little bit if you do miss the odd one when you get on to the next round, but it is better if it is there, of course. But it's easy to forget, especially if you're sort of chattering like I am. You'll get into a little routine of it though. I mean, this hat, as much as I've done it in red and sort of like a bit of a homage to Valentine's Day, it would look great in other colours. It doesn't have to be a Valentine's hat. It doesn't have to have the heart on the front. It just makes quite a nice little hat. Nice and simple to make as well. You don't have to do it in a cotton. You can use it in, make it in another double knit. Do watch your sizing then. I do find on average, if I'm doing a Smartdoll hat, 48 sort of stitches is approximately where I'm going to. I then try it on the doll and decide, because depending on the yarn or depending on your tension, you may need to reduce or you may need to increase. But for me personally, I've found approximately 48 is the way to go. We're almost round. Did I do a chain there? Yes, I did. So almost there. Make sure you remember that chain. I nearly forgot. And don't forget the chain at the end as well, because you think, oh, I finished. You haven't. You must do a chain, because we're going to slip stitch into the top, because it is a slip stitch this time, of that first 3 chains. So you can now see you have your increase in shape. On our next round, we're going to just do 1 double crochet into every treble, but also every space. So I'm going to do a chain first because it's easier to pick it up when you get round the other way. Now I'm going to go straight into this top of this one first. It looks a bit weird to start with, though. There we go, that's our first one. And then I need to go between the trebles, so it should be a chain space. Then I need to go in a treble, between a treble, in a treble, between and in, between, same all the way around. Now wait, look where you're going for this top of this treble. Can you see it's slightly to one side? That's what you're wanting. So treble and in between into that chain space, and that is how you will form properly the 48 stitches. Just looking at my yarn, I'm more than certain I've got enough there, but as it starts to get towards the end, you start to worry whether you've got enough yarn. The hats do not take too much. This yarn is a little more expensive than some of them out there, but I think it's worth every penny. I mean, there's some that are a lot more than these, but I do think it's a good quality yarn to actually use. It's made so many of my hats that are like the sun hats. Not that I've done a Smartdoll sun hat yet. I have made them for Cindy's, and Barbies and some of the smaller dolls, but I haven't done one for a smart doll. I do need to do one. It does take a while though when you've got a nice big floppy brim to do. Don't know whether it would work for a YouTube tutorial. It might, but I'd have to perhaps show it you in stages rather than all in one. So I know I'm having a lot of people ask me regarding a blue dress they've seen. I think I've mentioned this before. And they're wanting me to do a tutorial. My problem being is when I make that dress, it can take me can take 6 to 8 hours to do it properly. I'm stopping and starting all the time, but certain parts of it sort of components of the design can take a lot. The top bit's okay, it's when you get to the bottom. And it takes a lot of fitting as well. You do have to make sure it fits the smart doll exactly. So I sort of made it as I went along on her and wrote it down as I went. So I've got a sort of very rushed looking pattern. Make sure you don't forget that last chain, remember. And now we're going to do, let me double check, another DC round, so we don't need to slip stitch join, we can just continue round. Now here it's up to you. I think I will put a stitch marker in because I'm talking. I wouldn't generally, I'd just count my 48 stitches, so I'm just going to put it in the top of that first treble there. Round we go. I'm really hoping you guys cannot hear what I can hear. We have some very delightful neighbours. I don't know how much they can hear of me. So they're arguing at the moment. But some of the language that comes out their mouths when they are not particularly words I would be using. But hopefully they'll shut up soon. Oh no, they're not. I'm going to have to play this back and check that you can't actually hear, because I'm using a microphone and it's attached to me, and obviously because I'm talking most of the time there's a good chance you can't hear it. I'll keep trying to talk over them if they start. They are a pain. Not been blessed with good neighbours, unfortunately. There we go. Keep going, we're nearly there. So can you see, it makes a real quite nice shape. You could stop that, you know when I did the bag earlier, you could actually stop there and make a bag to match. Sort of two sides, you've got a bag. That's how simple you can sort of play around with this style of crochet. You can be halfway through making something and then you go, oh, well actually, it could make a so-and-so. We're almost around with this. We're going to change the stitch style in a second. Don't forget, if I'm going a little bit too fast, you can actually slow me down on the settings. Don't forget about that. Or you can just pause me, do your round, and then set me off again, like a little Duracell bunny. Right, we're round. So now we are going to be going on to a V-stitch. Now, depending which videos of mine you've done, I have touched on a V-stitch. It is only trebles and a chain. It is no more than that. I mean, crochet really is quite simple like that. It bases itself around basic stitches, and it's what you do with those basic stitches. The treble is such a versatile stitch. So because I'm changing stitch style again, I am going to do a slip stitch. Okay, I'm going to do 1, 2 and 3 because that's my first treble. That's my three chain count as my first treble. I'm going to do another chain, which is a chain, and then in the stitch below, same stitch it came out of, I'm doing a treble. That is my V-stitch. It's the equivalent to a treble, a chain and a treble. Now we're going to miss 2 stitches, 1, 2. Into the next one we're going to do a treble, a chain and a treble. Yeah, so you can sort of see the V better when they're trebles rather than chain. We're going to miss 2 into the third. We're going to have a treble, a chain and a treble. Miss 2, 1, 2 into the third with a treble. Treble, chain and treble. So you're going to do that all the way around. So I'm going to speed up a little bit now. So if you just remember V-stitch, which is treble, chain, treble, miss 2, repeat. Okay, all the way around. 1, 2, I'm into this one. So I'm going to speed up just a little bit. If you need to, just pause me or just slow me down on the settings. I've been using a lot of this yarn over the last couple of days in the 4-ply version as well. My fingers are actually a little bit sore. It's a stiff yarn, but that is perfect for what we need. So it's not a bad thing. Give you a great shape to what you're structuring. Oh, they've all gone quiet next door now, so hopefully that's the end of it. It was just a quick one. Oh, I have a knot. Can you see? Can you see? Now, up to now on a video, I've been really lucky. I've not had that. Now, that is an actual join in the yarn. That is not because it's got tangled. But I need a bit longer than that. I'm going to take a couple of stitches out because I like a nice long piece when I'm going to change. So, I'm going to cut it out because I think it looks messy. Some people will continue to crochet with it, but you don't want a knot in the middle of your crochet. So, I'm going to cut either side of the knot. Apparently you are allowed up to 3 knots in a ball of wool, and that's okay, that's acceptable, but it's a pain. Some have more, some have less, but they're not supposed to go over, but it's quite accepted for them to do that. So I've now got a loose end and I've got this, so I'm just going to wrap round, miss the 2, and hopefully this will work. Sometimes it's a bit loose when it does it that way. No, it's not going to do it that way. So I'm going to take that one out. And I'm going to join at the end of this treble. Watch. In the treble. I've not come through those last 2 because I'm going to do it now. Okay, so tighten it up with both ends. That's it. We'll tie it in a second. That's getting a bit clumsy to show you because obviously I'm showing you at an angle. It's not the way I'd normally, so I'd normally do it. So I'm just going to try and do the next one and then we'll come back and tie it. So 1, 2. 1 chain. You see how it's loose, but I'm going to tighten that up in a second. Okay, so let's have a look. There you go. If you just tighten it up like that, we'll lay it down and we'll do a little knot now. But I think the knot here and then threading through is a lot neater than just leaving a lump of a knot that the manufacturers have created. So it's an extra bit to sew in, but it's not the end of the world. Right, so where were we? Let's carry on. Miss 2, V-stitch. Remember, a V-stitch is just a treble chain and a treble. In this situation, you can get different size V-stitches. 1, 2. Oh well, I hope you learned something about how I have to reattach yarn. There are different ways of doing it. There are people who do like a splicing technique, which looks really cool. I can't be bothered. There's no need to. I'm quite happy doing it the way I do. So whichever way works for you, basically. If you get a knot, I just cut either side of it and then join it in like I would join in a new colour or something like that. But depending on the stitch, it can make a difference. 1, 2. Now when you get around to this part, you start worrying whether you're going to fit a full stitch in. It should work. It has done up to now. So if I missed 1, 2, look at that. You see, that's perfect, just in the middle there. So it should fit for you. And it should sort of leave a little space, which it has done, before we slip into the top of our 3 chain slip stitch. Okay, now we're going to do another round of V-stitch. Your second round of V-stitch is always easier than your first. So I want to slip into the middle where the chain space is. So I'm going to slip in, slip stitch. Now obviously it's a treble, so I'm going to have to start with 3 chain. So 1, 2 and 3 counts as your treble. 1 chain counts as 1 chain, and we're going to do a treble into that space. So we're going to be between those 2 in the middle of the V. It was the bag I did as a V-stitch, wasn't it? I'm just looking at it over there. So you know, if you're not sure, you can pop back to that pattern. So you can see where the V is and where the chain space is. It's between those that you're going to go every time and do another V-stitch. So it's a treble, chain, treble. It's easier this time, you're not even going in a stitch. Treble, chain, treble into every V-stitch. It will start to curve it around now. I'm going to go a little bit quicker with this one because again, you can just pause me and carry on round at your pace and then come back, or you can slow me down on that. I love a V-stitch, especially when you get past that first row, or round in this particular case. Oh, my wool decided it was going for a walkabout. That was where I joined the yarn, so it's sort of in the way a little bit. It might be a little bit tighter than it should be, but it will balance out. Making sure I'm still in the centre. I don't think this position of filming is too bad actually, because even though I keep feeling I'm pulling it towards my body, it's still sort of staying sort of quite, because that's as near as I could get. Yeah, that seems to be working out alright. It's either that or so I'm just getting learning to sit in a very funny position, which I do have to sit in a slightly funny position to crochet for the camera. One day I'll get some different equipment and then perhaps it'll be a little bit easier. Also, I'm trying not to get too close to the lens because I am aware it can blur. Hopefully this is going to be okay. Red's a funny colour on the camera though, it can sometimes glare. I'm hoping because it's a cotton rather than an acrylic, it should be okay. Right, so we're going to slip stitch join because I'm getting ready to change stitches again. We're going to go back to our double crochets. We are going to be doing 3 rounds of double crochet. So again, if you want to pause here, if you want to fast forward, and you just do your 3 rounds and come back to me, whichever way works for you. So I've slip stitch joined, I'm going to do a chain. I'm going to do a DC in that stitch below. Now this time, it's got to be in the chain space, in the treble. Don't forget the chain space, it matters because it is a stitch, but it's not alternate, so watch that as well. Watch, so you go chain space, treble. This is not a chain space, this is another treble, then it's a chain space. It's only between the V's, so it's not alternate, so you do have to watch that because I never did that. That's what made me think to tell you then. It sort of actually works out that sort of 2 trebles sit back to back. Like now you can see that's a treble on that V. That's the last treble on that V. That's the first treble on that V. There is no chain space there. In the V. Because we still need to keep that 48 stitches. If you start adding stitches in, obviously it's going to make the hat too large. Difficult, no, it's not difficult to see, but you do have to sort of fiddle it about sometimes, you know, sort of just jiggle it about so you can see where your stitches are. Again, with it being a cotton, slightly easier. If it was an acrylic, it would be less easy to see. So we've got 3 rounds, we're on our first one now. Oh, look, I nearly did it there, and that is not a chain space, it is a treble. I hope when I go wrong, it helps. Sometimes I think, well, I do really believe that you do learn from your mistakes, especially when you sort of learn a new skill. Sometimes if you go wrong, you have to sit and think about how to get out of it, and it will improve your work from then on. And see, I keep getting tempted, so that's why I know I've got to tell you not to be tempted, because it's too easy to slip into that space when it's not a space. Round on our first one, a couple more stitches. Right, so we don't need to slip stitch, we just can continue round because they're just double crochets. So we go spiral again now. So this is our second one. I think I will move the stitch marker up. It is approximately in the right place, but oh, I will if I can get it out. There we are. It does sort of change position slightly. Not that it physically moves, it just does. So number 2, I'm going to try and speed up. I have absolutely no idea what our time scale is. It's not a long hat to do. I think you should comfortably get it done in an hour. or you might want to do it in stages. You might just do the heart and then you might come back to it and then put the plaits on and then come back to it and do the actual heart. A little flower would look quite nice actually. The only reason I did a heart was because I had a commission recently to make a hat for somebody for their gorgeous doll. Not gorgeous doll, a gorgeous doll. And she wanted a Valentine themed one. It was a little bit fancier because I did do the heart and then I put a sort of a lace surround behind it, and then she was it a button or a bead I put in it, but there was more detail into it, and it was also a larger doll, so I just thought I can just scale it down a bit and make it a little bit simpler for you guys. You can make it as fancy as you want. You can cover it in little hearts or beads or sequins or whatever you've got handy, you can do it. I just like to keep it simple for the videos, that's all. Nearly round for our second one. Sometimes wonder whether I'm actually talking to myself on these bits, because obviously I've told you to fast forward, or you know, pause it and then come back to it. So I'm carrying on chattering, and probably most of you have put me on pause, so you won't even hear this. Right, that's our second round. We've only got one more round to be, well, for double crochet we've only got one round, but we're not actually that far off finishing the hat. As you can see its shape, you can see how far it has already come down, so you know there's not going to be much more. So this is our last, at the moment, double crochet round. This is a slightly shorter hook I'm using than some of my others. It's weird, I don't know whether I like it or not. It's sort of, I don't know, it sort of feels a bit unbalanced. Because you can see it's only just sort of sticking out, whereas my others would stick out much further. I've got so many different ones. I've just got this little bag that I keep them all in. So I just grabbed one out. It's the same hook size, it's just a shorter handle, which feels a little bit strange. Oh. We're going to have just one more V-stitch round in us when we've got to the end of this one, and then it's just a couple more, well I think it's one more double crochet and your ear flaps. I like the hats with the ear flaps. I'm inclined to do them a lot for the smaller dolls because I do think they look rather cute, but they look amazing on the Blythes and the pull-ups as well, because remember this size, I know I'm saying Smartdoll here, but it does actually fit on other dolls. My pull-ups it's brilliant for. The larger Blythe it will fit on, I think. I haven't got a larger one, I've only got a midi, so I'm not 100% sure on that, but something tells me it does. I could do with trying some on, perhaps if somebody brings one to Dollycon, if they'll let me try one of the hats just to give me an idea of the actual sizing. Right, a couple more stitches and we're round. Right, I'm going to do a slip stitch because I want to change my stitches, so I'm going to be going to trebles again. So I'm going to start with the 3 chain, 1, 2 and 3, and 1 chain for the space, back in the same hole, miss 2, 1, 2, in the next one we have 1 treble, 1 chain, 1 treble, all in the same space. So you get your little V, don't forget. Always miss 2, otherwise you'll be expanding your stitches. So we're going to follow the same routine as we did with the other one. V-stitch, miss 2, V-stitch, miss 2. All the way around until we get to our stitch marker. Yarn's running a little bit funny because it's coming towards the end of the ball. And 2. So we've already got 1 round of these this time. 1, 2. I'm pleased to see that more of you have had a go at the Smartdoll hats, and I've seen more pictures and sort of more suggestions. It's really nice. Please comment below. It sort of it helps sort of for me to increase the business as well if people comment, because it sort of looks favourable for YouTubers. So it's always good to make a comment. Please make it nice. I have had some lovely comments so far. Almost round, aren't we, I think? Got to be almost round. Yeah, I can see the stitch marker. I think V-stitches and trebles make you feel like your work's going so much faster. It is a little bit, it might grow sort of longer a little bit quicker, but you're still doing the same amount of stitches. Well, in this situation we are anyway. I think because I do so many double crochets in various pieces of work, I don't think I've got much speed difference between the two. And our last one. And slip stitch join into the top of that 3 chain. I'm going to do a chain because I've done a slip stitch, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet round. Now remember, that's the first one, so as much as I've done a chain, I'm still going to do a DC into the space, into the treble, into the treble, into the space, into the treble, again, treble, space, treble, all the way around, treble, space, treble, treble, space, treble. I think perhaps that might be a good way of thinking about it. I do have a tendency, especially if it's a new pattern, to sort of say it in my head as I'm going, if it's something that repeats all the way around, and it just gets you into that idea. And then if you do that, you quite often don't have to follow your written pattern then. So I'll look at something, check what it is, and then go, all right, that's going to be all the way around, and I'll just sort of chant that little sort of combination in my head, and I'm not looking back at the pattern. Nearly went into the wrong space again. So after this round, we're going to be doing the ear flaps. You don't have to do the hat side with ear flaps. You can leave it as a beanie. It does make quite a cute little beanie on its own. Very similar to the other one, though, it looks. So I thought it needed something a bit different. Hence the ear flaps on there. Oh, this wool is good job. I've actually cut off the amount for the plaits, so I know I'm all right. But I'm just looking at it. It is definitely running low. I'm gonna have to get some more of this. In fact, I haven't got it in the 4-ply this red, so perhaps I do need to keep telling myself I'm using up the yarn I've got, and then I promptly go and buy some yarn because another one catches my eye. But this is always a staple. I will use this over and over and over again, so it is worth getting. It's no good for stretchy items though. That's the other thing to be aware of with the cotton. You do need, although the sock wools, oh well, they're wool, aren't they? They're quite good. Right, I'm going to slip stitch join, I think. I'm going to take stitch marker out now because it's totally irrelevant. And there we go. So you can see I've got these little ear flaps. They're only small ones, but they do look quite nice on the doll. If it's a larger doll, you do have to create them bigger. So all I'm going to be doing is 5 trebles into the next space. So yarn round, next space. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I wanted an odd number because when I do attach my plaits, I want to attach it to the centre one. So you can do it with less, you can do it with more, but I wanted an odd number deliberately. I'm going to miss this one, so not this one, but I'm going to go into the next one with a double crochet. Now again, this is up to you. As you can see, I'm not counting particularly, I'm just doing double crochets, and I'll show you why. Because you will need the ear flap approximately equal to the other side. I do find they are better on the Smartdoll if they are slightly more forward than exactly half. So in a second, I'm just going to do a couple more stitches, and then I'm going to stop and I'm look. Nope, nowhere near yet, because you can see the other one sticking up, and we need, because you can imagine, I need to be about there to do my next one. So I'm going to keep going. I think this might be a slightly long video, guys, because we've got the heart to do yet. See if I'm almost there. Can you see? Almost. In fact, I'm going to go for it now because I want them slightly forward rather than halfway. So you're going to have to judge that. Sometimes try it on your doll, see where you want it to sit. So this is just 3 trebles. 3 trebles, it's 5 trebles, isn't it? That's 3. That is 3 I've just done. That's 4 and that's 5. Now I just want to double crochet to the beginning of this one, and the wider bit I would put to the back, because I do find the way the doll's heads are, miss one there, remember, the way the doll heads sit, that their ears are sort of quite big at the back, so that your ears, I suppose our ears, are slightly more forward. They're not exactly halfway around the head, are they? Look a little bit odd if they were. But I do think the doll's heads are slightly disproportionate compared with ours. Well, obviously they are if you look at their eyes. They don't look very strange with eyes like that. As much as anime eyes are very, very cute, I don't think they go onto a human. Right, last 2 stitches. I'm going to make this last one a slip stitch. And I'm finished. Ta-da! All done. Right, we're going to go straight on to the heart to get that out of the way. I mean, to be honest, you probably don't need me to show you a plait, but I will show you one. But we're going to go on to the heart first. The heart is only a couple of rounds, so it is very, very quick. Again, starts the same as all my amigurumi. So we start with our slips knot, our 2 chain, into the first chain, 6 treble, 6, I was going to say trebles because I've been doing trebles, 6 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, 2 in each time, so it gives us 12 stitches. 1, and you do need 12 for this, 2, 3, 4. I just did singles, didn't I? I'm actually, in my own head, I'm thinking about what comes next. That's the problem. So rather than what this round is, I'm terrible for doing that. So this should be 2 in each one. Slightly lost count, but I'm going to double check it. You just make sure you do 2 in each of those 6 to give you 12 stitches. I sort of got the feel of where I should be anyway. You do that after a little while. Right, what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I am 1. Ooh, itching my nose. I want to sneeze. I don't want to sneeze, if that makes sense. My body wants to sneeze, but I don't want to actually sneeze while I'm doing my work. So we have 12 stitches. We're now going to form a little pattern which is going to make the heart. Into our next stitch, we're going to do a half treble. Remember, pulls through all 3 for a half. In our next one, we're going to do 3 trebles. So we have 1 treble in the same, 2 and 3. So 3 trebles all in the same one. Okay, we're going to do a half treble. So it's giving the shape at the top of the heart. We're going to do 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet. We are now going to do the point of the heart, which is going to include 1 half treble, all in the same stitch. This is 1 treble and 1 half treble. Yeah, so in with the same stitch, it's half treble, treble, half treble. We're going back up the other side, so we're reversing it. So we have 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 1 half treble, 3 trebles in the next stitch. So this creates the other bump, 2 and 3. We need a half treble. And then we just do a slip stitch. Okay, so we have our little heart shape. If, like mine now, you don't think it dints down enough here, so this bit, when you stitch this in, you can just sort of pull it down as you stitch in, and it gives you a little bit more definition there. So that's our heart. Show how quick that was. Now I'm going to sew my bits in. We're just going to go straight to having a go at a plait. I'll just show you the one. So I have cut, you can see, oh, I don't know, they're probably about 20 centimetres. I've probably made them way too long, but I prefer to work with a longer piece and cut it shorter rather than the other way around. I've made 6 pieces. I'm going to use 3 for each Make sure we get approximate centre. There's an extra long one there, I think. You're going to be trimming them, so it's only an approximate. So I'm just going to be folding them over, and I'm going to find my larger needle, so a larger hole needle, because you will need that. And I'm going to hopefully push them through. They don't always like to play. There you go. So those are my loops. So I need them all to stay together. I'm just separating them so I can see that they are actual loops. Now I'm going to pop my hat in my little vise, as weird as it sounds. Now I'm going to go that side because I've not sewn that side in yet, have I? So I'm just going to pop it in the vise, tighten it up. Not too much, you don't want to damage it, but it's just enough to hold it. Because it's weighted, it holds it in place. Can you see that okay on there? So with this set of strands, I'm going to go in from the back. You know where your middle one is there, because we did 5. I'm going to go in from the back like that. You see? I'm going to pull it through, but not all the way. So my loops are that side, my strands are this side. Taking this out, again making sure all my loops are lined up together and nice and smooth. That does make a difference. And we're going to pop the strands through and pull. And can you see? We tighten it up and it makes a nice sort of little knot position. Now, because this is holding this here, I don't have to faff about with plaits because they're a nightmare if you've got nobody to hold them for you or nothing to hold them on. So you can just plait and that's holding it there. You can plait for as long as you want. You can make really long ones if you wish. I just sort of went pretty average, so it sort of hits just below the shoulder. Hopefully you're okay with plaiting. Let me move it up a little bit. If not, perhaps I'm going a bit fast here, but I'm sure there will be a tutorial out there that actually does it. So let's have a look. If you look at that one, approximately, yeah, I think that's about right. So I'm going to make a knot now. So I've just flattened them out, pull it round and push them through into a knot. Pull them through nice and even. I don't tighten it straight away. I'll make sure it's sort of lined up. Make sure they're all going to pull in at the same time. You can see there's a shorter one there. And pull it tight as you can, and trim, and that's it. You have a nice, it keeps your plait flatter by having something to hold it with, and also when you do your other side it gives you something so you can sort of balance them both out and measure them. I didn't buy it for that, we got it cheap somewhere. I can't even remember what we bought it for, and it's ended up in my craft room because I have used it quite a few times. It's supposed to suction into the table. I've never managed to get it to do that. So this is our little hat. We'll bring Gaia back in. Oh, I nearly knocked her unconscious then. And we'll put the original one back on. Can you see her in there? You can, yes. Oh, there's she gone. And there you are. As far as stitching this on, I get rid of this thread. I sew my bead on first because it does make it easier. So I would sew on my little butterfly first. In fact, that red one looks better than the pink one. I might do the red one for this one. And then it is just stitched into place with this piece. Up to you. Some people like to just stitch for the centre so it pops out. I like to sort of stitch it down a little bit nearer the edge so it's a little bit flatter to my work. That is up to you. That is a personal choice there. So from Gaia and myself, thank you very much for watching. Hope you get to make these. Hope to get to see some on Instagram, Facebook, etc, etc. Please pop me a comment down. Like, subscribe and share as always. Thank you for watching. Click on the notification bell if you're wanting to see what I'm doing next, and I will see you very soon. Bye.